Alchemy. We hear that word and we think of medieval, ancient scientists or magicians, like people who wear robes and who are hunched over in like firelit labs and they're trying to turn lead into gold. But what if I told you that real alchemy isn't about all that? It's not about metals and all that. It's actually about you, the listener. What if I told you alchemy is basically about the lead of your wounds, fears, limitations, into the gold of wisdom, freedom, and light? So in spiritual traditions, whether it's Sufi mysticism, Kabbalah, or Taoism, alchemy is the inner work of purification. Basically purifying your inner self, because like I said, like in the past sessions I said, or we have a shadow self that hides within ourselves. And in this particular case, lead represents our ego, our old stories, our fears, and our patterns that keeps us small. Side represents our higher self, that is love, clarity, the radiant core of who we all are, who we all truly are deeply. And true alchemy is not about gaining something, right? It's about burning away anything that's false within us to achieve our true essence, if I could put it in a better, simpler term. So Carl Jung, who is a writer of books related to psychology and spirituality, he has said that alchemy is basically an integration between the unconscious and the conscious mind, and which means that facing our shadows, facing our dark bits that we've kept hidden within us for I don't know for how long, parts of us that we have denied who we've buried or denied, Every time you journal, you meditate, or you sit with your feelings, you're basically doing alchemy. You're basically turning pain into insight, trauma into resilience, and fear into courage. Our brains are wired for change through a process called neuroplasticity. And each time we interrupt an old pattern, such as choosing presence instead of panic, compassion instead of judgment, we are literally rewiring our neural pathways. And alchemy is not just a spiritual pathway, it's also a biological path, a biological truth, basically. I feel like the fire of transformation happens within your neurons that's inside of us, right? So I'll kind of give you a roadmap of how alchemy works, right? In spiritual alchemy, there are a few stages. The first one is called calcination. Second one is dissolution. Third one is conjunction. And the fourth one is called coagulation. So the calcination is very easy. It's burning away of our ego and our illusion. Basically, there are, our outer selves. The dissolution is letting go of the false identities and our attachments, to things or people. And conjunction is basically uniting with your higher self. Finally, coagulation, and you're basically one with the divine. You're already the creator of your reality, you're creator of your surroundings, creator of your life. You are the creating force. Nobody else creates anything for you. You are responsible for your creation and your life. So that's what the last step is. So these are the different stages. I kind of put it in a brief way. And I feel each stage mirrors the human truth. We go through each of these stages in each of our life. There's a certain level of time and there's a certain level of expectations put onto us, and that's when the first stage comes in, and then something happens and you start seeing through the cracks, and then finally you get to a point that you unite with your true self. And final stage would be understanding that there's nothing bigger than us. We are what we create, And it's just the simplest way to look at alchemy. So like I said, we are the magician who's creating these things, who's creating lead into gold. We are the alchemists. So if I ask you, if you are to bring it into alchemy into your daily life, how would you do that? How do you live as an alchemist today? Start small, I would say. Notice the small thoughts that come into your life. Notice when heaviness comes into your thoughts, when fear creeps in, when there's stress, or when you struggle to make a decision about something, when there's certain relationships that does not align with you, even family or friends, or romantic relationships, habits, patterns. Ask yourself, what is the lead in this? And in this whole situation, what is the lead? And how can I turn that into gold? That's the golden truth. That's the golden question. That's the alchemical process Every single time something happens, just be like, what's the lead in the situation? How can I turn it into gold? Maybe it's forgiving yourself, for something that like something that you've done, instead of carrying that guilt. Maybe it's setting boundaries with certain people or certain situations, right? So maybe today walk like an alchemist, not the robe kind, not the magic kind. But there is magic within you if you want to look at it that way too. May you burn, may you release, and may you transform, and may you shine. And maybe you should be the reminder for other people around you that lead can turn into gold. And that is what alchemy is about. That's what I wanted to talk about in today's episode of Just Real Talk. Like always, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. And if this resonated with you, I would really appreciate you sharing it with somebody else. And in the comments, if you wanna share your thoughts about like what's something that you possibly turn into gold. And if you like this podcast, feel free to subscribe. Like always, I will meet you there. See you next time.